Hey everyone, I know I'm a little late to the party this year, but here's my top 10 horror films of 2023. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see Saw X, The Nun 2, or The Pope's Exorcist, so who knows if those could have made my list. Besides that, I'm going to make some honorable mentions for films that just barely didn't make the top 10, including Five Nights at Freddy's, The Boogeyman, No One Will Save You, and We Have a Ghost. Starting off at number 10 on my list is Cobweb. I wasn't able to see this one in theaters, but I kept hearing good things about it, so as soon as it was on Hulu, I checked it out. I had no idea what I was getting into. I never saw any trailers or anything. I love the whole Halloween feel and setting with the pumpkins in the backyard, and the two parents are super creepy. But best of all was the third act, which I did not expect at all. This was no Oscar-winning movie, but the actors were good, it was creepy, and it was surprising, so it made my number 10 spot. Number 9 is Knock at the Cabin. This is one of Shyamalan's better movies. My all-time favorite of his has always been Signs. I love that this movie has a constant feeling of dread. If you believe these four or not, either way, we know something bad is going to happen to this family. Batista and everyone else in the film were great. It may not have been the scariest movie, and I don't know if I loved the ending or not, but it was still a good time in theaters. My number 8 is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I'm a huge fan of the Universal monsters, and I was instantly interested in this film. I love the period setting, and I love that it almost feels like Alien, where you have this crew stranded on this ship with this monster they are not prepared to fight. The look of Dracula is great in the movie as well. Next, at number 7 is Megan. This was another fun movie this year. I didn't know what to expect going in. I thought this could be a fun one, or it could be terrible, but I definitely was a fan by the end of it. The look of Megan, the design, and the way she acted was all super creepy. I can't wait to see what they do in the sequel. Hopefully they up the scares and the gore. My number 6 is Nefarious. This was another film that I didn't know about, but all of a sudden word of mouth spread, and I heard it was pretty good, so I had to go see it in theaters. It's a simple thriller about this prisoner on death row that claims he's possessed by a demon. And the story is about figuring out if this man's lying or if he's actually possessed. The main actor was great in the film, flipping back and forth between himself and the possessed version of the demon inside him. Number 5 is Renfield. Renfield was a fun, scary, action-packed horror comedy. I've always been a fan of Nicholas Hoult, and he was great in the film, and of course I gotta talk about Nicolas Cage's Dracula. As soon as I heard he was playing Dracula, I thought, this has gotta be good. And he blew me away. He was even better than I expected. He was funny but also terrifying, and hands down one of my favorite Draculas in film. Unfortunately, this and Demeter didn't do well in the box office, but I definitely recommend people check these out if they haven't seen them. Now on to my number 4 is Godzilla Minus One. The rest of my list I debated where things went, but for these top 4 they were solid. Godzilla Minus One was another film I'd never heard about until it was out, and people were constantly talking about how good the film was. Now I'm not a big fan of subtitles at all, but this film sucked me in so quickly that I had no problem with it. The characters in the story were so great that you'd even forget it was a Godzilla movie. And then on top of all that, you get a great Godzilla movie with a monster that is terrifying, destroying everything in sight. This was a great film and I recommend it to everyone. My number 3 on the list is Thanksgiving. I'm a sucker for holiday-themed horror films, and this was a great slasher movie. It was just the right combination of cheesy comedy and gnarly gore. I can't wait for the sequel coming out next year. I'm hoping this turns into Friday the 13th, where we get a decade of sequels after this. My number 2 is Talk to Me. I love seeing all these YouTubers getting into filmmaking. I had seen some of Raka Raka's stuff over the years, and it was always fun, but I never expected them to make such a great horror film. This was another horror movie with great directing, great acting, good scares, and good characters. And this was another film that you're constantly on edge the entire movie. I can't wait to see what they do in the sequel. Hopefully they can deliver one as good as this. And of course, my number 1 is Evil Dead Rise. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and I've loved every film in the franchise. I like that we constantly get somewhat of a different direction each time, and I can't wait to see what this team does with the series in the future. And of course, like a lot of the other films on this list, the acting was great, and especially the Deadite mother. She was terrifying, but also kind of funny in a messed up way. I'm curious if we see the survivors of this film in a sequel, or if the next film will have a completely different setting. Either way, I had a great time and I'm excited for more. So that's my top 10 horror films of 2023. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this list, and tell me your favorite scary movie of 2023.